Hi, my name is Kay. I'm an organizer with Survived and Punished New York chapter, a co-creator of aidtoabolition.com, and a former member of the No New Jails New York City campaign. I came to organizing when I was an undergrad and I got nominated for a progressive fellowship. And through the fellowship, I got to meet with other organizers across the country and really learn about what organizing was. And I had always been raised to care about politics, but I didn't really know what people did with their political views until I got to do this fellowship. And after the fellowship, I was hooked. I ended up transferring colleges, going to protests and organizing meetings in Atlanta every weekend, and I've been doing this for almost 7 years now. I think the first piece of advice I have for young organizers as they're beginning their frameworks and campaigns is to know that campaigns, while they are really important, like winning is really important, I think that they can also serve as a place to engage other people in education and consciousness raising. So while your campaign might not be successful in terms of getting police out of schools or doing XYZ, your campaign can still be considered a win if you bring more people into this movement and you educate people about issues that are happening in their area. Another piece of advice I have is just to collaborate with local groups that are working on similar issues so that the formations that you create around your campaign are long-lasting and you have networks to build power with for future campaigns. Another piece of advice I have is just to read and to research and to look at other people who've been successful doing this work and to also reach out to those people, having one-on-ones, looking at their writings, looking at the things that they've produced about their campaign, so that you can get their perspective, so you don't reinvent the wheel. The movement for reproductive justice and prison abolition are inherently tied because reproductive justice has several tenets, but a core tenet is fighting for bodily autonomy, and another core tenet is also fighting for the right to raise your kids in a safe environment free of violence, which are two central components of prison abolition. People who are criminalized by the carceral state are also people who typically lack access to reproductive care, and they're also people who are more prone to experiencing sexual violence, harassment, assault, etc. Prisons are inherently a reproductive justice issue because prisons serve as a site for sexual violence, whether it be through mandated strip searches or a lack of privacy, shackled births, and also no access to medical care or menstrual products. These movements, in order to be successful, have to work together because we won't have reproductive justice or autonomy if we're still living within a carceral state. A concrete way that students can work together in their community and schools to get cops out of their schools is to really raise awareness with other students about the violence of policing. You might be within a school system that has a cop that doesn't actually do anything, or you might not have experienced the violence firsthand, but letting people know that the existence of policing itself is violence is a really good place to start. And you can do that through social media and also in real life educational campaigns, through flyering, knocking on people's doors, going to people's classes in this case, and letting people know. Another thing you can do is look into your school's relationship with policing. Does your school use the local school department, or does your school hire an outside person? Naming just how much money is invested into policing or into monitoring or security is really good, because then you can compare how much money is being spent on things that students actually need, like access to books, school supplies, and extracurricular activities. Another concrete way to get police out of schools is to reach out to teachers and talk about different structures that you would like to see in place for safety. So learning about restorative justice and learning about transformative justice, so that when you present your campaign to the powers that be, when they ask, well, what do we do when this happens, you're actually prepared with an answer. Another thing that you can do to work to get police out of schools is to create networks of mutual aid. Even though you're students and you're young and you might not have access to money, you could still have access to other resources that can help other students out in your community. And by working together to engage in mutual aid, you're educating each other and also creating a support system that you can later use for future campaigns. Overall, I would say that engaging in organizing at any age is super important, and when you're first starting out, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. You're going to do things wrong. You're going to put your all into things that might not necessarily stick, but you're also going to build some lifelong relationships and some tools that you can use in other aspects of your life. Don't be too hard on yourself. Recognize that there's people that you can reach out to for help. And most importantly, make friends and have fun. Organizing is not supposed to be painful or awful. Make sure that it's something that you love doing so that you can stay in it for the long haul, and good luck.